The Halo franchise was, at the start, a franchise filled with passion and polish. It helped to shape the current FPS genre as we know it today. The original Halo was revolutionary for its time, bringing a captivating story with intelligent enemy AI, iconic multiplayer maps, and extraordinarily fun vehicles all to your living room couch, which was unheard of at the time. FPSs in the late 90s to early 2000s were mainly PC only, with titles like Doom and Half-Life being some of the biggest names I can think of off the top of my head. With Halo bringing this kind of gameplay to console, it opened many people's eyes to the potential of console FPS games. Also, the kind of storytelling found in the Halo trilogy was unmatched for their time. Halo didn't stop innovating after the first entry, however, with Halo 2 being one of the first games to implement online multiplayer on a console. This innovation was so huge that Halo 2 was one of the biggest drivers in people buying Xbox Live subscriptions. Halo was making Microsoft a ridiculous amount of money and selling their consoles, so they wanted the next entry to be bigger and better, which meant Halo 3 got a budget double the size of the previous entry, and Bungie didn't disappoint. Halo 3 brought an extremely good campaign, arguably one of the best multiplayers of all time, and the new Forge mode, which allowed players to forge their own maps and modes. This opened the door to a massive custom games community that helped to make Halo even more popular. Incredible modes like Duck Hunt, Fat Kid, and Hide and Seek, which continue to get remastered in new Halo games, were made in Halo 3. Forge and custom games has been a huge selling point for Halo games and has helped to form the tight-knitted community that Halo has today. Now, at this point, Halo had been around for over 10 years with very little competition. However, there was new competitive shooters starting to pop up time and time again, and the FPS genre was evolving rapidly. The competition was just simply getting better, and so Bungie knew that if they wanted to keep the Halo franchise alive, they would need to evolve. So this is where Halo Reach comes in. During the time of Halo Reach development, Bungie's contract with Microsoft was nearing its end. They knew that their next title would have to act as the blueprints for future Halo games to come. Bungie knew that this entry needed to leave a mark. So Bungie took everything that worked in their previous titles and expanded upon them, with the campaign of Reach being one of my, if not my favorite Halo campaign of all time. Halo Reach was honestly one of my favorite Halo games to ever be released. I have a lot of fond memories in this game. I think part of the reason this game was so great was because you could feel the passion that went into it. You could tell that Bungie really cared and wanted to make the best Halo game ever to help build a franchise that could last forever. However, the day inevitably came where Bungie would no longer be developing and overseeing Halo. And that day is the day I believe the Halo franchise truly started to die. Microsoft made the decision to replace Bungie with an in-house developer by the name of 343 Industries, which as soon as they got their hands on the franchise, they began development on Halo 4. The Halo community had been waiting over 5 years for another mainline entry. Before the game would eventually launch, images would start getting leaked online of the art design and direction of Halo 4, and fans were firmly disappointed. Halo 4 didn't even really look like Halo. The stark difference between Halo 3's Master Chief and Halo 4's Master Chief is honestly just appalling. Now, when the game eventually released, people realized the extent of the damage 343 had done. Halo 4 played basically exactly like Halo Reach, but had a completely different art direction. You could tell the games were in the same engine because they felt exactly the same. It kind of reminds me of Modern Warfare 2019 and Call of Duty Vanguard in the modern day. They both feel exactly the same. At its core, Halo 4 was just a reskin of Halo Reach with better lighting effects. Also, the multiplayer direction they went for was absolutely abysmal. You could tell 343 was trying to compete with Call of Duty, with the additions of Kill Cam and Sprint being pretty obvious attempts at appealing to the Call of Duty audience. Also, the campaign was just simply lackluster. I won't go into detail because the video is already long enough on its own, but I think Halo 4 truly caused the franchise to lose its identity, which I don't think it's ever truly recovered from Halo 4. 2 years after the release of the lackluster Halo 4 was the Master Chief Collection, which brought something all the fans had been asking for: a remastered version of all the Halo games, 1 through 4, which gave them updated graphics and brought back their multiplayer servers or added them in the case of Halo 1. This was the game all of us were waiting for. It brought back custom games, all the stories we loved, and gave us the ability to play all the Halo games multiplayers in one place. However, the MCC launched a broken mess, and 343 knew it was broken and shipped it anyways, which resulted in the game getting review bombed and gave MCC a bad reputation. The game took months to be brought up to a reasonable state, and keep in mind, 343 and Microsoft had charged full price for the game and wouldn't accept refunds. This further ruined 343's reputation in the Halo community. MCC had the potential to bring the community together and could have repaired people's view of 343 after the botched Halo 4. But because of Microsoft and 343's mismanagement, it ended up doing the opposite. 1 year after the release of MCC, the next mainline Halo game was already releasing. With the launch of Halo 5, a very small portion of the community that was so strong back in Reach showed up to give it a try. Those that did seemed to absolutely hate the direction Halo 5 went in. The campaign was just objectively the worst campaign a Halo game had ever seen, which compared to the trilogy, which had some of the best campaigns to ever exist in gaming, this was extremely disappointing. However, the multiplayer was actually one of my favorites. They tried something new with adding advanced movement into the game, and this advanced movement actually felt like it belonged in the Halo franchise. This actually felt like it could exist in the Halo universe. However, this addition was very hit or miss for a lot of the community. Majority of the community was split entirely down the middle on the game's multiplayer. However, the launch suffered an extreme content drought, likely due to the fact that MCC had released just a year earlier. A lot of modes were just flat out missing from the game on launch, and the map selection was really lackluster. The biggest redeeming quality of Halo 5 was its forwards, which revolutionized custom games in the series. I really do think Halo 5 could have been received a lot better if the community's opinion on 343 hadn't already been so negative. Halo 5 was personally one of my favorite multiplayer Halos of all time. I spent hundreds of hours playing the custom games alone. However, Halo 5 marked the nail in the coffin for 343 in my opinion. Majority of the fanbase had already moved on to other franchises and had lost hope in the future of Halo. Keep in mind, fans had been holding out for a great Halo game since Reach, which was released over 5 years ago, and that had still yet to be delivered. Every game 343 had released up until this point had either been downright broken or horribly flawed. And after the release of Halo 5, 343 went dark, only releasing one spin-off in a 6-year period. That was until the reveal of Halo Infinite at E3 2018, which left fans extremely hyped. After seeing that 343 had reverted to the original art style that made Halo what it is, old fans were hyped to see if this game could capture the magic of the original trilogy. The game was set to release on November 10th, 2020. However, on August 11th, 2020, the game was delayed to an undefined date in 2021. It was reported that 343 was heavily outsourcing development of Infinite to other studios, resulting in a ton of development issues and miscommunication, which in my opinion probably had the most to do with the delay. This left a lot of us extremely skeptical of Infinite, especially because of the seeming development hell it was in. Eventually, on November 15th, 2021, Halo Infinite's quote, open beta would release, which only included some multiplayer aspects. This multiplayer beta was massive. Halo Infinite was one of the most viewed games on Twitch at the time, and was breaking records on the Steam charts. The game was absolutely massive, and proved that if Halo was done right, it still had a place in modern gaming. However, it appears 343 hasn't learned from their past mistakes, because since the game released, we have only gotten one major update, which, if you want to see a more in-depth video on why Halo Infinite failed to capitalize on its launch success, I made a video about it here if you want to check it out. But Halo Infinite was the first Halo game in a while that showed promise, and once again, 343 backstabbed its community, and the recent Halo show has just been the cherry on top. I truly do think that Halo lost all of its personality and truly died the day 343 got their hands on it. And trust me, I don't want to say that because I'm a huge Halo fan and I really want 343 to improve and make a really good Halo game. But after being fed terrible games for nearly 12 years now, I don't see the series truly being able to recover. The Halo community is only a mere shell of its former self. I truly do think the Halo community died all those years ago when Halo 4 dropped, and the franchise went down with it. Let me know if you guys agree with me in the comments down below. I know a lot of you may have differing opinions from me when it comes to all the Halo games in the franchise. Also, if you guys want to see me do a series on all the Halo games where I do kind of a retrospective, let me know, because I'm actually strongly considering going back to those games and giving them a thorough review. Especially since I put so many hours into those games, I think it would be fun to go back and take a look at them. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, I'm sure you'll enjoy this one where I talk about Halo Infinite's death by lack of content. And anyways, I'll see you next time, friends. Peace.